What's up, guys? Welcome back. Amazing RC, Brian here, and I got a really cool idea that I come up with earlier. It's gonna help fix your stock shocks for your SCX24. Now, just a little backstory. I wanted to turn this into a cool little FPV kind of crawler trail truck here. I've got some really cool tubes that I got from work that kind of these awnings come in, and if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, basically I'm gonna do kind of a mini crawler course. But I always imagined, you know, a real tiny FPV crawler going in some places that you just normally wouldn't be able to see unless you had FPV hooked up. And I figured, what not better than a giant long tube, you know? So I got some really cool tubes, and I wanted to mess around with them today. And I ran into an issue a couple days ago when I tried to upgrade this battery, and I totally fried my ESC. It's the video prior to this one. If you haven't seen it, it's a hoot. You definitely want to check that out. So I replaced the ESC and the receiver, because of course that's an ESC receiver combo. And I just threw a little $10 banggood.com, you know, ESC in there, tried and true. I got a billion of these things and they work in just about every application. I also threw an R6FG receiver from Radiolink that allowed me to throw my RC6GS transmitter on there, which allows me to basically to calibrate every little function that this crawler has. I even have it set with cruise control now for some real cool calibrated descents. Once I got all of that put together, I used a very light battery, kind of threw it on the back and went on my way. Well, I noticed about 10 or so feet away, really still in you know, eyesight of the vehicle, my FPV started clipping out. Now remember, I've got a Fat Shark Scout FPV. It's a really good entry-level FPV. And every time I had it on, you know, my Trexus Emax running 4S, I mean, I could go super duper far with this and I would have really good clarity the whole way through. Well, I was getting some pretty heavy clips about 10 feet away, and the only thing I could think of is it was my little battery. So I thought, okay, let's juice the battery up a little bit and see if that helps. So I went ahead and I plugged everything in. I just kind of set the battery to the side. And as soon as I turned it on, I noticed immediately a complete visual difference. I mean, it was like upgrading my FPV system, you know, and I didn't. I just kind of gave it some more juice. Now, this is still a 2S battery, just like this little guy here. This is a 2000 mAh, so it's got some power to spare. This is just a little 350 mAh battery. And I think that was my issue, is I had, you know, LEDs in the front. I've got my Fat Shark FPV camera here, you know, I've got the ESC receiver, everything's really drawn, you know, some power. So as soon as I would hit the gas, I would get those clips. Well, I threw this battery in. This is a 2000 mAh, it's a Venom, I believe. I've got a bunch of Velcro on it, but I threw this in there and crystal clear the whole entire way. Well, that posed a problem. This battery doesn't weigh anything. This battery is like 5 of these. I mean, it's a very, very compact battery. You get a lot of amp hours or whatever it is, you know, stuffed in this tiny little package. Well, it's extremely heavy. And when I put the battery on the truck, it just bottomed it out. I mean, it was just completely toast. The stock shocks that come with this are really calibrated to this vehicle with all of its stock stuff on. If you start throwing things on here, and I mean not brass weights that go on your wheels, I mean those are down here, but anything that's on the chassis that utilizes the shocks to kind of stay up, it just bottoms this thing out. Now, of course, they have aftermarket shocks. I've seen some hot racing aftermarket shocks, really nice aluminum shocks. I didn't check on them. I'm sure they're not cheap, you know, probably 20, 30 bucks. I know that they're really good shocks, but a lot of stuff's on back order right now. And I've made some purchases along the way the last couple weeks. Of course, you know, we got the SCX24. So I didn't want to go spring $20, $30, $40 on a set of shocks. So I thought, okay, what can I do to these? It isn't going to cost me anything. And the first thing I thought were zip ties. You know, why don't we just pull the spring down and just throw a little teeny tiny zip tie on it? And that's exactly what I did. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that there is a sliding spring retainer at the top of each of these springs, just like your normal 1/10 scale shocks. You know how you would have a a little clip-on, spring spacer. Well, it would go above the spring retainer that the spring would go into. And these shocks actually have a teeny tiny little spring retainer. So I slid that down, ran a zip tie around it. I kind of pulled it down pretty low, because once you get the zip tie on there, you can kind of adjust the shocks. You got about I'd say an 1/8 of an inch, it's a teeny tiny shock. So an 1/8 of an inch is like a foot, in scale. So it allowed me to really wrench these down pretty good. When I did all 4 of them, believe it or not, FPV, new ESC, new receiver, and a battery, and I still have shocks. I have suspension. It didn't just bottom this thing out. Not only that, it actually works, I'd have to stick my little battery on here, but look at that. It's got suspension. It did not before. When I put this on there, like I said, not only did it bottom the rear out, it bottomed the front out. I'm super, super happy with how this is coming out right now, because once I got it to where I still had a little bit of suspension left, man, sky was the limit. I took off, and it's still such a low profile vehicle. This is how I actually had the battery, but this little guy is super duper tiny, super low pro. Sitting like this, I was able to go under everything. There was nothing that was too low inside this house, and I had an absolute blast. I promise you this, the first time I went through that tube tunnel, I'm hooked. I'm going to have a micro course somewhere, somehow in here, and we're really going to put this thing through the paces. Now, I did weigh this down. It's well over 300 grams. I will say this, though. When I was done at the 3-minute mark and I got the car back, very first thing I did was I kind of put my fingers on everything. Let's kind of check some temperatures here. Something is probably going to be burning up. Well, my little $9-10 Banggood.com ESC, it was a little warm. It wasn't scary warm, but it was a little warm. Everything else was ice cold. I could have probably run this thing for an hour. This little battery is going to allow me to run this vehicle, I'm going to guess, 20 minutes, which is an extremely long time to be running all of this equipment on one tiny little vehicle. You're going to get so much more of this coming. I'm super, super excited with how this turned out. However, this was not all the FPV action that we did. I actually had the D12 out earlier today. I wanted to get everything rigged up and basically do a weight test. And again, I used this little blue battery, and I wasn't having issues as far as running it around real quick and doing a lap, but it wasn't as clear as when I ran this battery in the SCX24. So I'm now going to do another redesign in here and get this battery installed. I'm going to have to solder on another Dean's plug on here so that these two will talk to each other. I'm going to have to check my polarity this time, no matter what the colors are, because any of you that saw my last video know that that's how I fried my SCX24 receiver, was not checking the polarity when I soldered on a brand new plug that looked just like this on another battery. I had it on, I think I've got it lighting that back there, which deserves it well, because that thing there wants to fry cars. And my little FPV sucks a bit too much power out of it, and it doesn't work at all. It's horrible. So we're gonna go ahead and light the blue and red lights in the X-Max body back there. But once I soldered on that little plug and I thought I had everything ready to rock and roll, I threw it on the ESC and it just fried the thing. Smoke, fire, it was crazy. So very excited to get both these setups. Now this one I ran for about, because this was the video we were going to have today. However, I ran about 2 good clean laps. Man, I had this whole thing set up in here. I had blinking lights and blue lights and tunnel lights, and man, it was really cool. But about 2.5 laps into it, I smacked right into the wall, and I had already damaged this super heavy by running this FPV at the shop, and I was flying in the shop, and I hit a metal pole in there and I tore out this link. Well, I've already glued this thing in there using Gorilla Glue twice. Well, I'm happy to say that we're ready to rock and roll for round 4, so you're definitely going to get some more of this as well. I think if I get the right parts on that, I might be able to put that thing in the air. So you're going to see some more FPV coming from that. But tell me, is that not cool? Those laps with all the lights going and stuff, and that's a quarter speed. I know everybody says that, but that was a quarter of what that car probably could do. I was barely touching because I was trying to learn the lap. That's an elaborate lap. So we're going to have some more of that coming up as well. And then I got these. So at the shop, we've got the Matco truck that comes by, kind of Snap-on Matco, you know, they're all kind of the same kind of deal. And they had a little keychain in there. It was in the shape of a turbo, you know, like a little hairdryer turbo. So I actually picked up 2 of them because, you know, we were gonna, you know, kind of scale this little guy out. We got our little faux engine here, and the D12 cab in the back. And I mean, can you imagine this big goofy hairdryer up here somewhere, you know, with one of those really cool color changing drinking straws that I have? I mean, it's gonna look really cool. Now they are extremely heavy because they're obviously well built. It's off the Matco truck, but just cool, man. You're gonna see, I mean, you might even see a twin turbo somewhere, who knows. Guys, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I've been busy just doing crazy stuff here. I did in fact get the servos installed in the SCX23 as well. We're gonna have a video very soon with the dig feature. I'm very excited to use that. I haven't even got to use it yet, but I did pick up the Spectrum servos. I know, but I did get them. I figured if I'm gonna spend money, I might as well give it the book says. If I would have got something else and something would not have worked, I would have went through the roof. So I do have the dig feature working. Also the 2-speed transmission, all from my RC6GS V1 radio link transmitter. I'm telling you, I love this thing. I've got the dig feature here on this toggle switch. Got my 2-speed transmission on this toggle switch. I've got the lights because I've run out of channels, believe it or not. I actually have my on-off switch also hooked up, and I've got the headlights and taillights going in, and they're going to be run on this dial. I actually tested it out. If I move the dial all the way back, it's counted as an off. I move it all the way forward, it's counted as an on. So I can actually cycle through all of the on-off functions. Be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, my little channel 3 button. That's cruise control. I mean, you set that for as fast or slow as you want to go. And with that Holmes Hobby motor that I've got in the SCX10 man, I'll tell you, my buddy Marcus wrote me and said, it's about time you got a real crawler. Well, I'll tell you, he's not that far off. I mean, I did have a TR-Explorer, I do own a Sawback, so I've got a couple nice crawlers, but that SCX10 is no joke. Guys, like I said, hope everybody had a good weekend. I'm going to get to it and see if I can't get something else built in here. Maybe run a couple more cars, get you guys some more footage. Until next time, it's Brian, Amazing RC. Get you guys another cool video very, very soon.